Hello everybody, hope you guys are all enjoying your day. Today we're going to be looking at this really cold blast of air that's going to be entrenching itself into parts of the northern United States, through parts of the Midwest, Great Lakes, and Northeast, where you really are going to get hammered with some very cold air. Wind chills this morning were reading about negative 56 degrees in parts of Northeast Minnesota or Northeast North Dakota. So really cold air, and those were wind chills. Actual temperatures were hovering right around negative 10, negative 15, negative 20 in some cases over parts of northern North Dakota. And this is going to be making its way further and further to the south, and you're really going to see that cold air start to lock itself in place into parts of the Midwest, into parts of the Great Lakes, and into parts of the interior Northeast, where you really are going to get hammered with some negative 20-degree wind chills widespread over a large area. So really a very big deal, and I will be covering all of that as we get into today's video, so make sure you do watch the entire thing. Also, my Winter Storm Mabel forecast, my updated Winter Storm Mabel forecast is out on the channel, and that was out yesterday, and that's why you see all these winter weather advisories over parts of the central and northern United States. So you can go check that out if you are in this purple area. That's really where you are going to be affected with this winter storm Mabel. So really, if you want to, you can go check that out on my channel, and I'll give you a good breakdown of what's going to happen with winter storm Mabel. What we're going to be talking about today is all this over parts of the north central United States. Now we have wind chill advisories in this lighter blue, or kind of an aqua color here, and then we have wind chill warnings in that grayish color, and a blizzard warning there in the orange red over parts of South Dakota and Minnesota, mainly just blowing snow. You could get a coating to an inch of accumulation, nothing too substantial there. And then we also have winter weather advisories for another area, kind of underneath all these wind chill advisories and warnings over parts of Iowa, Minnesota, South Dakota, and parts of Nebraska as well. And we also have those flood watches to the south here over parts of the southeast because of winter storm Mabel. So let's get into your model forecast here. Now, this is your temperature anomaly forecast. We're going to zoom out for a little bit, and then we'll zoom into parts of the Midwest, getting back through the Great Lakes and into parts of the Northeast. Now, this is your temperature anomaly forecast showing you where it's colder and warmer. Now, really where you want to focus is all this cold air that has been locked up in Northwest Canada, and finally you're getting that polar connection where you can get a jet stream that can dip far enough to the south, finally, which we really haven't seen this winter, that you can get some cold air to move its way south, and really bring some cold air finally to parts of the northern United States. And this is really going to be a quick mover, maybe 2 days, and it's pretty sad that this is our biggest cold air attack of the season, because it is a pretty weak attack. It's going to only be here for about a day or two, and then it's going to move out. So it's going to be a quick mover, but definitely while it is there, you're definitely going to feel it. It's going to be very cold air while it's in your area. So Wednesday night, we're basically tonight and getting into tomorrow morning, you're seeing these very cold temperature readings, or this is your temperature anomaly, so very below average over parts of the north central United States. And we're going to show you your actual temperatures and your what it's going to actually feel like, your wind chills, in just a second for all these areas. So getting into the Midwest, really cold air that you're going to be seeing, negative 30 degrees below average. So very cold air, and ahead of winter storm Mabel here, you're going to see these very warm temperatures ahead of a warm front that is going to be moving through, and further to the east, you're going to have some very warm air ahead of this, but then really that cold air is going to really make its way in to parts of the eastern United States as you get behind that system, and as the system departs, really going to allow all that cold air to really just spill into the United States. So you see very below average over parts of Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, and through parts of Missouri as you get into Friday morning, and then getting into Friday afternoon, starting to move over to the Northeast, where you're seeing that very cold air starting to move into parts of the Northeast and Great Lakes, and that would be by Saturday morning. And now Saturday afternoon, it's still there for parts of the East Coast, but really not going to be as profound as it was, let's say, Saturday morning for that area, but really it's going to stick around for maybe a day or two, and then it's going to leave, but it will be very impactful while it's still there. So you see, these are your actual temperatures for parts of the Midwest, and we're going to move through the Great Lakes and the Northeast later on in this video and show you your temperatures and your wind chills, or your feels like temperatures. So Currently, pretty much what's happening right now. You have some double digit below zero actual temperature readings over parts of northern North Dakota, but this is really gonna move its way to the south as you get into Thursday morning, and this would be Friday or Thursday afternoon. So of course it's gonna warm up in the afternoon, but it's gonna warm up to around -10 degrees. So I guess you could call that warm for I guess these standards, where it should be actually pretty cold for this time of year, but it is gonna be warming up, I guess you could say, to about -10 degrees in the afternoon for Friday morning. And then Friday morning, you're going to see these temperatures -20 degrees for a couple areas, more widespread as you get later on into Friday morning. And then as you get into Friday afternoon, still -20. So maybe your high temperature could actually be in the double digit below zero readings over parts of Iowa, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, but then really departs out into parts of the Great Lakes as you get later on. So here's your temperatures for parts of the Great Lakes. Now you see we have that cold blast of air start to move in by Friday morning, and then by Friday afternoon you're starting to see that very cold air move into parts of Wisconsin, Illinois, Missouri, Indiana, Iowa, and into Minnesota, where you're seeing -20s, negative double digit below zero temperatures, actual temperatures here, not just wind chills. So you see very, very cold air that's going to be bringing itself into parts of these areas. And you see, we do have a thin stripe where this is mainly snow cover from Winter Storm Mabel. So Winter Storm Mabel is really going to enhance this cold air, where you do get that snow cover to set up over parts of the Ohio Valley and Northeast, where you do get that to set up. You are going to have some very cold temperatures along with it. So that's really going to enhance your cold temperatures. So now getting into the Northeast, you see by Friday morning or Friday afternoon, you're starting to see those colder temperatures. You're seeing those below zero temperatures starting to reach into the mountainous terrain of the interior Northeast, but the lower elevations still above zero, so still relatively warm. But until you get into Saturday morning, where it's really going to be really cold here over parts of the interior Northeast and northern New England, Maine, widespread -10 or at least -5, -6, -7, and even colder as you get further to the north. New Hampshire, Vermont, all seeing these double digit below zero temperature readings for much of these states, and also for upstate New York, northern Pennsylvania, and this is really enhanced by your snow cover. That's why the higher elevations are much colder than those lower elevations, because you are getting that snow actually in those higher elevations. So that does reflect the sunlight back up, so it doesn't allow as much sunlight to come in, and of course that makes it a lot colder. But for those areas with that snowpack already on the ground, for the interior Northeast, where you have that snowpack of about 5 to 8 inches, you're going to get a lot of cold air to really build in to parts of those areas, and you're getting double digit below zero temperature readings as you get to Saturday morning. And now getting into Saturday afternoon, even colder in spots getting into Saturday afternoon, but then really retreats, and you're just left with some 20s and 30s as you go on the back side of that. So now here's your wind chill. So this is what it's going to feel like. You see, starting off very cold over parts of North Dakota and South Dakota and Minnesota. Really, for North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, today was your coldest day. For parts of Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, it's really going to be tomorrow into Friday. And then as you get into parts of the Northeast, it's going to be really Friday night, Saturday, and maybe Sunday morning. We'll have to see about how long this cold air does stick around. So this is your wind chills. You see very cold air with -40, -41 degrees, -42 degrees, even potentially there over parts of southwest Minnesota. And this is an area that has a pretty good snowpack in place. Really, along this area has a fairly good snowpack that is currently in place, and that's why you're seeing these colder wind chills, because of course you are getting that snow to get or that sunlight to get reflected off that snow, and that really does allow for some very cold air to be in place, and that's why you see all these very cold temperatures within a very sharp gradient here, where you have some snowpack and where you don't have some snowpack. So this would be by Thursday morning, and now getting into your Thursday night, you're starting to see over southern Minnesota -30s starting to take place, and then widespread -20s and -10, double digit below zeros, and even into Friday morning, still sticking around there for parts of the Midwest, and even some negative 40s could be reintroduced on Friday, and then really just single digit below zeros for the Midwest as you get into Saturday. So really going to be warming up, I guess you could call it, over parts of the Midwest come Saturday morning. So Saturday, or for parts of the Mid Atlantic, or this is what they call the Mid Atlantic view, but I really like to call it the Great Lakes or Ohio Valley view, because it really does encompass that area. You're starting to see these wind chills really cold as you get into your Thursday night, and now getting into Friday morning. You start to see very cold air over parts of the Midwest and Great Lakes, and you see those negative double digits start to move into parts of Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana come Friday morning, and then by Friday afternoon, it's really at its peak over parts of the Great Lakes, really, and then it starts to move into more of the northeast as you get into Saturday morning, but still some fairly cold air is still on the backside of this. So now getting into the northeast with your wind chills or feels like temperatures, whatever you want to call it here, and you're starting to see that very cold air, those negative or below zero wind chills getting in here by Friday morning, and then by Friday afternoon they're really enhanced, and you have those wind chills of around negative 20 for a couple of areas in the interior northeast, but really not going to be as brutal as you would get in Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota with this event, but still in below zero for a large area here. And especially Saturday morning, really going to be very cold over many of these areas as you get into Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, New York, and Massachusetts. Very cold air that is going to be taking place over these areas, and even getting into Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, you still have some leftover cold air. So that is going to wrap up the video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turn on notifications so you never miss a video when I do upload. Anyways, guys, that was the Guy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.